Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्. Gurudev. So yesterday we saw here the verse number 22. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani gृह्णाति naroparani तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि. So just as a person gives up old clothes and takes up new ones, so too the indweller of the body gives up old bodies and takes others which are new. The word Nara means a human being, or etymologically, one who cannot be destroyed, who always survives somehow. If a person is enlightened, he or she survives eternally as eternal Brahman. If not, the person merely survives. How? The word yatha, meaning just as, indicates that an illustration is about to be presented. Here, the illustration used is the discarding of old clothes for new or better ones. Vasamsi jivnani vihaya aparani navani grihnati. Similarly, the old body, sharira, is given up and a new one is taken. The word sharira means that which is subject to disintegration. Bodies therefore become useless in time because of the natural aging process disease, or abuse. The abuse may be caused by someone's wrong action, like murder, for instance, or by your own abuse. By slow suicide, like drinking and so on, a person destroys the body and thus it is rendered old and useless, jirna. You are the one wearing the clothes, and you keep on wearing them on this sharira. They are with you only as long as you find them useful, and then, when they are useless, you throw them away and take on new clothes. This process is repeated again and again. Similarly, there is a wearer of this body who is the indweller of it. So here it's either you take on new clothes because they become old, or you've also outgrown the clothes. Like from as a baby, if you keep looking at yourself to what you are now, you can't use the same clothes that you used as a baby. This process is repeated again and again. Similarly, there is a wearer of this body who is the indweller of it. The indweller, Dehi, is the one who has a body, Deha. Just as the body is within the clothes, so too, within this body, which is itself a costume, is the person, the indweller, Mr., Mrs., or Miss so and so, who takes new bodies. Anyani Navani Samyati. Giving up the old, one takes on the new. The idea here is that either way, Atma is Nitya. It does not die. It always keeps on going. Even when the Jivatva dies, the Jiva does not die. Only the notion dies. Krishna wants to point out here that Atma is always Nitya. Never does the Atma subject itself to disappearance. The Dehi, the indweller, continues to be. Here, certain questions can be asked. When a person is really old, the body is no longer useful. A man, for example, may be 98 years old and unable to hear, see, walk, or do anything. He cannot digest his food or even open his mouth, and even if he can, he has no teeth. Such a body is definitely useless, like an old Cadillac. The only difference is that certain parts are salvaged from the Cadillac, whereas the old body has nothing to donate. Everything is so old and worn out that to receive a donation from such a person, one would need to be at least 150 years old. The body as a suit of coat clothes. Anything anyone wants to add here, or we move on to the next? So, the body as a suit of clothes. Because this old body is no longer useful, the person gives it up. That he lets it go and takes a new body is understandable, just as the giving up of old clothes and the taking on of new ones is understandable. However, the example does not seem to hold in all cases, given that we see people dying away in the prime of youth with cancer and so on. We can understand that accidents are due to someone's mistake, carelessness, or whatever. Someone dying because of a homicide is also understandable, in that another person abused his or her free will by performing a destructive action against a body which can be objectified by others. A bullet, for example, can destroy the physical body, Stula Sharira, and once ruptured, the subtle body, Sukshma Sharira, can no longer live in it. Just as a car needs a few things with which to operate, spark plugs and so on, so too there is a minimum requirement for the Sukshma Sharira to be able to operate within the physical body. There must be a heart and a kidney, for instance. If these are ruptured, the body is useless, regardless of its age. Just as the new car you bought yesterday can become a wreck today, so too, this body can also be wrecked. And because the Dehi can no longer run it, a new body has to be found. Same thing with clothes. You may have had a new set of clothes, but in case they get torn accidentally or some color, some dirt splashes on it, then you can't use them again. Similarly, a young person dying or accidentally leaving his body, all this come under this category. Because once the Stula Sharira is ruptured, the Sukshma Sharira needs a set of conditions in order for it to remain in the body. It needs a functioning system inside. When the whole rest of the body is functioning, only the brain is not functioning. Like for instance, a person is in coma, the Sukshma Sharira still can sustain inside the body. But some minimum requirement is required. Without the heart, it cannot. Without the lungs functioning, cannot. However, when a young person dies of leukemia or due to some unknown reason, we cannot say that he or she did anything wrong to bring about this disease. The person may have done one or two things wrong, but nothing sufficient to develop cancer. Crib death is but one of the many ways a child may die. People are also struck down in youth and middle age in any number of ways. Energetic, ambitious people with a lot of plans and many irons in the fire do succumb to heart attacks. Why do people die away like this when the body is not yet worn out? The answer to these questions is as follows. What is said is that the death of the physical body depends on the Dehi. If the Jiva has taken this body and is a survivor of death, then there must be some cause which has brought this body into being. If you accept that there is a Dehi other than this body who survives death, then that Dehi, having survived not only this death but previous ones also, is always a survivor. The Dehi then must have come to this body because of his or her own karma, not because of God's will or for any other reason.
But how they he come to body first? It's a means continuous process when the next time is the karma. But first time
That is
they he
what,
comes to body.
yeah, that is what. If you, it is coming, how is the Jagat created?
Correct. That three gunas, panchamahabhutas and all that, no? That
Mahabhutas.
mm-hmm.
Maya, from
Hmm.
Brahmashraya Maya.
Maya. Hmm.
And Panchama, then you have Trigunatmika Maya. Maya is Trigunatmika. And then the Panchamahabhutas develop from there. So the very beginning itself is out of ignorance, Maya. It is something that you cannot understand. So how can we then say, how did the first Dehi get his first body? No, it is a matter of wonder. It is a matter of it is out of Maya. But then, having got his body, for whatever reason he's got the body, then succeeding bodies, the the reason why he gets into other bodies, other new bodies, is because of his own karma, and not because of God's will or for any other reason. See, that death of the physical body depends on the Dehi. So we are responsible for our birth. We are also responsible for our death, our birthday and death day, both. But then that is a secret. That is, you cannot fathom it. How does it happen is is a question to wonder. A God who willed suffering to people would be some kind of tyrant, a sadist, and would definitely require psychological treatment, isn't it? Why else would he put so much sadness into people? One person is born with leprosy, another with syphilis, AIDS, and whatnot, through no fault of the person. What kind of God would sit there and give people such sadness from the very start? Not only for the growing child, but for everyone around as well, since seeing such suffering is a sickness in itself. Anyone who is responsible for doing such things is a sadist and is the first one who should be brought to justice. We could never sing in praise of such a Lord. God is not a tyrant. Only a sadistic God could be a tyrant, enjoying the suffering of people for no reason. Some are born with wooden spoons in their mouths, others with silver and golden spoons, and some are born with no mouth at all. What kind of God would do this? Some are born to become orphans. Why then are they even born? Don't ask, we are usually told. This is what is called double justification. God is first justified by what he does, and then we are told not to question his actions. Why even talk about such a God then? Let us settle our account with ourselves. We have our own lot. You have a body here which has its own problems. You do not require God at all for this. And if there is such a tyrant, it is better not to think of him at all. On the other hand, perhaps the explanation is that we have asked for our particular lot in life. God is the law. We asked for it and we got it. The Lord says, I am the one who made you, and at the time I have not made, and at the same time I have not made you. This is like putting your finger into the fire and then asking the fire, did you burn me? Yes, I burnt you, says the fire. Why? I didn't burn you at all. You just told me you burnt me and then you say you did not. How can you say both? You are blowing hot and cold. I thought you blew only hot, and now I find you blow both hot and cold. Why is that? When you stuck your finger into me, I burned. To burn is my nature, my swabhava, and I burned. I cannot say that someone else burned. I burnt your finger. But then I did not go after your finger, did I? I remained in my place. You stuck your finger into me and got burned. In other words, you asked for it. This is the law and is what is meant by the law of karma, prarabdha karma. It is the jiva's karma, the law of karma being there. If you accept a soul that survives the body, then you definitely have to account for the varieties of situations that you face. Thus, prarabdha karma is the reason why a person, a dehi, comes with a particular deha which dies when the job is done. So let me read this part one more time. It's a very beautiful example that is given. So God is not a tyrant, right? Number one, God is not the one who gives suffering. He is not the one who willed suffering to people, and he is not the one who not just suffering, anything else in life as well. So only a sadistic God could be a tyrant, enjoying the suffering of people for no reason. Some are born with golden spoons, wooden spoons, silver spoons, and some with no mouths at all. What kind of God would do this? Some are born to become orphans. Why then are they even born? Don't ask, we are usually told. This is what is called double justification. God is first justified by what he does, and then we are told not to question his actions. Why even talk about such a God then? Let us settle our account with ourselves. We have our own lot. You have a body here which has its own problems. You do not require God at all for this. And if there is such a tyrant, it is better not to think of him at all. On the other hand, perhaps the explanation is that we have asked for our particular lot in life. God is the law. We asked for it and we got it. So here, God is dharma. So dharma is the law based on which everything else functions. So the Lord says, I am the one who made you, and at the same time, I have not made you. This is like putting your finger into the fire and then asking the fire, did you burn me? Yes, I burnt you, says the fire. Why? I didn't burn you at all. You just told me you burnt me and then you say you did not. How can you say both? You are blowing both hot and cold. I thought you knew you blew only hot, and now I find you blow both hot and cold. Why is that? When you stuck your finger into me, I burnt. To burn is my nature, my swabhava, and I burnt. I cannot say that someone else burnt. I burnt your finger. But then I did not go after your finger, did I? I remained in my place. You stuck your finger into me and got burnt. In other words, you asked for it. This is the law and what is meant by the law of karma, prarabdha karma. This is a very impactful example. No? In the sense, you put your finger and therefore you got burnt. Burning is the nature of fire and therefore it burns. Similarly, there is a law, that is the nature of the law. Every action has a result, either good or bad. So it all depends upon us. We are putting our finger into the fire. We are the ones doing good deeds or bad deeds or otherwise. And therefore, we are the ones who create a blueprint of our life. Whether it is suffering or joy, whatever we experience in life is our own doing. God is there only doing his swabhava. He is in his swabhava, his dharma, is the law. So, on the backdrop of that, everything else is just happening. So, we cannot pinpoint God and say he is the tyrant. This is the law, and is what is meant by the law of karma, prarabdha karma. It is the jiva's karma, the law of karma being there. If you accept a soul that survives the body, then you definitely have to account for the varieties of situations that you face. Thus, prarabdha karma is the reason why a person, a dehi, comes with a particular deha, which dies when the job is done. What is it that is new? With reference to taking on a new body, who is to decide what is new? Car rental people always buy new cars and after 1 year sell them. For them, 1 year, a 1 year old car is old, but the one who buys it thinks of it as new. Others may buy a much older car and also think of it as new, whereas the seller thinks of it as old. Of course, there are even others who buy very old cars, fix them up, and are very happy that they have the oldest car available because it is a valuable antique. Who then is to decide which of these is new? Similarly, the king of Thiruvananthapuram in the south of India must walk to the temple every day wearing new clothes. The clothes he wears one day are considered old the next day and are given away. Of course, the one who receives the clothes thinks of them as new. This person may wear them for a year or two and then also think they are old. There is always someone who will take them. That is why it is said that there is a buyer for everything. You have to decide what is new. So, this new and old is very relative. It is relative to the situation. Similarly, here, what is old or new has to be decided by the Dehi and not by you, the onlooker. For the onlooker, the body may not be ready for death, but for the Dehi, the job is done. Those who are bereaved may look at a particular death as something that is premature, but this is not the case from the standpoint of the Dehi. Unless the death is caused by some wrong action, that is, the abuse of free will on the part of oneself or someone else. Otherwise, it is for the Dehi to decide when the body's job is done. In other words, when the purpose for this, when the purpose for which the body has taken has been accomplished. Even though the Dehi may like to live on, the job for which this body was taken is done. When it is done, the tenure is over. Whatever had to happen here has already happened. Therefore, death takes place. Just as in the world, a person takes on new clothes and gives up the old ones, so too, the one who indwells in the body, the jiva, gives up the old body and takes on the new. What is meant by old bodies is to be understood properly. Therefore, for the Dehi, the one who indwells the Deha, there is no death at all. And for the Deha, there is no survival. I'll read this one more time. Even though the Dehi may like to live on, the job for which this body was taken is done. When it is done, the tenure is over. Whatever had to happen here has already happened. Therefore, death takes place. Just as in the world, a person takes on new clothes and gives up the old ones, so too, the one who indwells in the body, the jiva, gives up the old body and takes on the new. What is meant by old bodies is to be understood properly. Therefore, for the Dehi, the one who indwells the Deha, there is no death at all. And for the Deha, there is no survival. The body is bound by time, subject to change, and it keeps changing all the time. There is no time when the body does not change. Because it is always changing, it is called Sharira or Deha. Deha means that which is subject to cremation, and Sharira means that which is subject to disintegration, that which is buried. The choice then is only between these two. The Deha is always subject to death and is always dying. It is not that suddenly one fine day it dies. Rather, it keeps on dying all the time. You cannot stop it. Whereas in the case of the Dehi, you cannot destroy it. Both facts must be seen clearly. This being so, there is no cause for grief. Ashocyan anvashochaspam. a theme that continues and is the conclusion. That there is no cause for grief is the vision of the Shastra, and being so has a bearing upon the entire dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna. As we proceed, we shall see that there are topical connections, sectional connections, and a total connection with this theme throughout the Gita.
Yeah, Deha is the body, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
Deha is the body and Dehi is the indweller, the Jiva.
yeah, thanks.
Very beautifully explained. So nice. That when we can say this body is new or this dress is new, that is explained very nice. For a king, he will wear for one day only and just gives it up. And those who get, they think that it is new body, new clothes. So it's just a relative. It has to be decided by the Dehi, which is new and which is early, which is old. So it's all depends upon the Jiva himself. Beautifully explained.
But he decides and then it comes out of the body. That sentence, can you read again? Means they he decides
Yeah,
which
it's all
body he is to
you.
tag, means tag
That's
karna.
wonderful. We can repeat whole chapter. Very nice it is.
So, what is it that is new with reference to taking on a new body? So, let me just read this. We read that twice, no? The example of the finger getting burnt in the fire. So, the fire is its svabhava, by its nature, it burns. It did not go after the finger and burn it. So, therefore, I cannot say that someone else burnt. I burnt your finger, but then I did not go after your finger, did I? I remained in my place. Similarly, God, Brahman, is there, is the substratum upon which everything else is. He is the law. He is the law of karma, law of dharma. You stuck your finger into me and got burnt. In other words, you asked for it.
It is like that the nature's law are laid, and when we do not align with them, we we do not perform the any task according to that law of dharma, then we are attracting the uh, like that punishment, you can say, or that that it will become a prarabdha karma, and then we have to uh, it will fructify, and it will, what if it is good, it will give you good result. If it is bad, then you will suffer. So it's our own doing, basically, which is making us suffer. And generally we quote that statement like, how can God do this, how can he punish me like this, how can it's it's all our own doing. And I think that the the set of karmas, like so many karmas are there, but a particular set of karma is to be uh, what you say, that they have to be um, you have to undergo the results. So with that some set of karmas, with that your that that horoscope is made when you are born. you that screenshot at that time of those those uh, um, planets and nakshatra, they that day is decided that these type of karmas will be, you will be like that, this is your prarabdha karma, and now you are born with this, and now you complete all this and you come back, and when they have all been fructified, then that it's time to leave, and the dehi it leaves the body, and again then new set of karma waiting for you, and when it is that appropriate time comes, then again it enters some body, and then again that cycle starts. Yeah, so such law of the nature is like it doesn't have any speck of, like it doesn't have any mistakes or nothing, it is so, you know, such finely it moves, it cannot tend to make any mistake, it is so different. That is why the thought, the action, the all they make that karma, and that is why the karma is said to be the pradhan, that it should we should always um, focus on our karmas, what we are doing. Yeah, just wanted to share this. You know, it opens that it relates everything to so nicely that we feel just like a puppet in in the entrapped in our own you can say the web. It's all our create, what we have created, we are caught up in that only.
But here thank you for sharing, Savitaji. There is this term we say God's grace, right?
Yeah, that is the karma which you are which you have you have done with that free will, and that remains. It is the few karmas which we are born with, that is the prarabdha, but what we are doing with our free will, that will entertain that grace, and that will also lessen the prarabdha karma's degree also. Like if you had to have a fall, then maybe it would be a very trivial fall. So that is where the grace is acting, uh, because God has given us that free will. But sometimes it so happens that even though you want to do and still you can't do, then you feel that how come the free will is there when I want to do and I still cannot do. Then that is again, I think, some more karmas are waiting for you, for you to suffer. Then I think you have to you have to fructify those karma. At that time it happens so that you want to do but you cannot do. You are being prevented from doing that. So if we take that, we see that it is because some of the karmas are still to be fructified, and you have to go to undergo some suffering. Then they will be not you will be prevented from doing those karmas. It isn't so many times it happens that you want to go to attend some this sadhana or some satsang, and you suddenly you get stuck. So it is that prarabdha karma which they are so strong that they are preventing you from going. So there they sometimes that free will is it is in just finishes off like you. Yeah.
What we do with doership, that becomes prarabdha, right?
Prarabdha is all what you are doing. Whatever you are doing, good and bad karma, that becomes your prarabdha. If you are doing something good, you will have to you'll seek that punya also. No? Punya and papa both we have to uh, endure. You have to endure both. Yeah, it is not that good karma will not have result. For that also you will have to come. So that is why that if you do the karma with non-doership, surrendering in that in the surrender mode and leaving that what is to be done, I am doing that, not expecting the result. That is what I think we'll be reading further, that non-doership. Then that punya will also not accumulate, because you are surrendering the result to the higher consciousness or God. Then that punya also you are not wanting to, you don't want the punya also. You are just doing what is to be done. You don't want anything. Like the karma sannyasa, he is doing with an attitude of non-doership. Like he's just doing. He's not wanting plus minus results any. Just for doing sake, he's doing with the faith and that surrender. Then that is why he is not like he'll be not having a birth next after this life. There are so many terms in Gita, no? Sarkarm, sannyasa, and then I don't remember exactly, but there are so many terms which we Jivan Mukta. Dr. Brahma must be knowing much better. Yeah.
So, this is the law and is what is meant by the law of karma, prarabdha karma. It is the jiva's karma, the law of karma being there. If you accept a soul that survives the body, then you definitely have to account for the varieties of situations that you face. Thus, prarabdha karma is the reason why a person, a dehi, comes with a particular deha, which dies when the job is done. What is it that is new? So, the varieties of situations that you face, whether good or bad, are because of your own doing, of your own blueprint. So, for suffering, we generally tend to say, God, it is not because of God. But then when something good happens, we say it's God's grace. So, my question is, in both ways, it is you are the responsible one. I mean, you're responsible for it. It's just that isn't it? So for when you're suffering, we said earlier, God is not the tyrant. He's not the one making people suffer. It is our own doing. So if it is our own doing, then in case some good is happening to us, we normally say it is God's grace. So we're attributing that to God actually. But if you look at it, when you analyze it further, it is your own doing. God is only he's doing his nature, his swabhava is there. You do good, you get good. You do not good, and you will of course read the same result.
Somewhere in chapter 18, we read, no, I don't remember the shloka, then whatever you do, you sometimes the result is less, sometimes it is appropriate, and
Hmm.
sometimes it is more than what
Yeah,
you
It
that's a
makes
desired.
Daiva factor.
So
We did.
isn't that also like happening?
Daiva.
Yeah,
Mm.
we read those graces, no, that kripa. So
Correct.
somewhere, yeah.
But then, see, what I'm asking here is where you're not considering, God is not a tyrant. Correct. God is not the one giving us suffering. But if He's not the one giving us suffering, He is also not the one giving us the opposite of suffering, which is joy, which is whatever else is the opposite of suffering.
Yeah, you kind of go with both ways, right, Dr. Ramaraj? Like when good happens, also, yeah, it's God's grace. Like somebody got an award for whatever they have done, then they politely say, when they humbled and say, "Oh, it's all God's doing." At the same time, when people mm, like have something like bad
Challenges.
happening,
Mm.
at the same time they okay, it one, like the other day I was driving on the highway, some big rod came and hit my car and front bumper. Believe it or not, I was kept driving, and I didn't even notice what happened. Since I didn't get affected, and then after that, after parking the car, I saw that the front bumper kind of broke. So when I told my friend, "Oh, it's good that you didn't get hurt. At least whatever happened, whatever came to your head, it went with the cry. Whatever the talapage. They say that proverb in Tamil. தலைக்கு வந்தது தலைப்பாகையோட போச்சு அப்படின்னு.
Instead of hitting the head, it hit the crown.
Yeah, like that. Um, so we kind of attribute those things to the unknown factor, right? So that factor is there. Why it happening? I agree completely with the law of karma. Whatever we do, that's what we are going through, that good or bad. Yes, I agree with your point also, like because we have done something good, so we are also able to reap some of the good uh, results. But then again, it goes both ways.
What I think is because of the buddhi we are got, karma means solution we have, or karma, that choice is with us. So whatever the result is, that is a phala. So it is good or bad. We just accept it as a prasada, and we say, if anything good happens, we say it's because of the God. We are not the karta. But the efforts needed when something is to we have to do, and if we have not taken those efforts, then the if the result come wrong, means not sad, then um, we are responsible for that.
So,
And
Hmm.
actually speaking,
phala is means we can't imagine what it will come, but efforts are with us. We can take the effort.
what we
Hmm.
normally attribute grace to is in something good that happens. According to us, it's relative actually. So, if you say, you must say God's grace universally, everywhere, whether you are having a not so good situation or a good situation, it is God's grace all the while. It is in the sense, it's the law of karma that is acting. Of course, you have created that whatever situation you have to be, the ultimate blueprint you have put. God is just giving the law of karma is acting. That's it. So when we're going through some bad situation, some difficult challenge also, that is also God's grace in a sense, in a way, in the sense that it is the law of karma that is acting there.
one thing I also like, it's an uh, just like, when in certain situations, or in some period of time when the things are unfavorable and there are so many hardships, and when that period is gone, and after enduring that process, the person comes out to be very much strengthened, and you can say that he has grown up or he has evolved. So what do we say then? That the hardship which he underwent, that was a grace also, and also the prarabdha karma was fructifying, and because for a better cause. Can we say it in that term? Or is it some, like I'm interpreting it wrongly?
No,
You know
I
the thing.
couldn't get the whole train.
Yeah, I was asking, like, if suppose, like, uh, initial phases of life is filled with all the hardships and very strenuous labor, and very hard life, and during that process the person is enduring all that. Maybe it is his prarabdha karma, and in the end, when he comes out to be as a uh, in a positive way, he endures, he does all the responsibilities, and he is become a evolved soul during his life, and uh, understanding the importance of this spirituality, or you can say that he is a god fearing person. So isn't that all the previous past life has made him to become a noble soul? So we will say that it was good, or we will say it is bad. If a person has become a noble soul, and he's become more spiritual, and he's become more humble, like all good qualities he has attained over a period of time. So isn't it that that grace also happening, and that uh, the prarabdha karma is also fructifying? Both are happening simultaneously. Am I not clear still?
I think, yeah, I think there is an element of free will here, no?
No, I was
Rather,
relating it to um, I'm talking about the God's grace. The
mm,
God grace is always, it is as you were saying, God grace is, it is not always that a good thing is happening.
mm,
If a person is undergoing some hardships, and he has lived that life, and he has attained all the positive qualities during that time, and he has he's living in as a what to say, like, he become more spiritual, and he become more this uh, uh, in Sanskrit, what we say, I don't remember the word. He's become more a positive person, and more you can say
Sattvic.
not enlightened, but yeah.
More
So
Sattvic again. But
Sattvic, he's become more
Sattvic,
Sattvic, he's become more
Sattvic
noble.
and
Yeah. So
yeah, I think it's a
that
part of growing up, right? Like if you're,
so
with.
what happened in this past? I'm asking that what happened in the past, is it
Mhm.
is it we can call it grace, or we will call it his only the prarabdha karma which he had to go, because end result was that he became a positive person. He is on the right path now, but past was very hard. So that we will term only prarabdha, or isn't that grace also happening, that you suffer and you acknowledge, and then you are coming on the spiritual path, which is the way to moksha? So
There is no ifs and buts about it. Like, yes, at least
It was
You know,
destined to do like that.
like when you take, for example, Mahabharata, right? Like the Pandavas had all the good qualities, all the skills and everything else, but then they had to go through so much difficulties. They were not even having a proper food,
Yeah, that is
and
the
they were,
situation.
I know
Literally,
that,
that is
that
the
they were
situation.
going through some of the difficulties, right? But
Yeah.
at the same time, that we cannot portray the Duryodhana for whatever reason. He was greedy, as well as all those. His character was like he wouldn't want to share anything, like that kind of stuff. But yet he was the king, and he was living in a palace, and he was having good food and everything else. But in the end, what happened, in the end, that love, dharma is what takes over. So again, we have to, in the context that as we're reading, the law of karma and the law of nature, and this law of dharma. So everything falls in place. Apart from all of this, is the daiva factor also matters, um, because daiva only with the dharma. So so when it will only I mean, like when you said it acts only when something good happens, but doesn't have to always that way. But I think it more towards that dharma, or the truth, or whatever, that is the way, at least this Bhagavan portrays, Krishna portrays in Bhagavad. So that's my take on that, what you're
Yeah.
saying about it.
See,
Yeah.
whether it is good or bad times,
Yeah.
like for instance, you have the fire is there. It is the swabhava of the fire to burn. It's the
Yeah.
swabhava of ice to cold, to give you cold, to chill, to cool. Now it
Right.
is you have put your finger in the fire. So you
Yeah.
have actually done. So the Pandavas, the reason why they went through whatever hardships they've gone through, and towards the end. So it is not just the end; it is
Yeah.
throughout
Not, I mean,
every
again,
moment.
everybody has to go through to some extent, well, based on what they have done, based on
It
whatever
is not to
karma.
some extent, the full
Yeah.
extent. It is up to you.
Yeah.
Is what is because of what you have done. But here there is an element of free will. The free will is after having been exposed to this knowledge, to this the Shastra, you have a choice. The choice is between suffering versus enduring the pain. So pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So that is where the free will comes in. So with your free will, if you're taking with the same, like you see so many saints, they went through so many hardships. They just took that as prasada. They took that also as God's grace. It is not just the good things that happened. They said, oh, this is God's grace. Even their suffering, they said, in our suffering, we're able to remember you. There was some, I think, I can't remember who it was, who said, please, I would like to, it is in the times of my pain that I actually remember you more.
That was Kunti. Kunti.
Was it Kunti? Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Kunti asked, yeah,
so
who
that what I'm saying is, we in our mind generally this is what we think. Anything good happens, we say God's grace. Anything not so good happens, we don't attribute it to God's grace. But God's grace, if you extrapolate the law of dharma, law of karma, it is actually God's grace. It is that the fifth factor, the unknown factor, that governs each of our situations. And like Lavlinji very rightly mentioned, grace is human journey is to evolve. Grace is always there, good times or bad times. Each event, each moment is a learning, growing, and coming out of situations with Guru's guidance, sadhana, seva, and satsang. Yeah. So this is we'll go through this one more time tomorrow. This part is what is that is new, and then we'll go on to verse 23 tomorrow. So we'll stop here today. We had a good discussion. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Just do a short guided meditation.
Silence, spine erect, eyes closed, आंखें बंद रखें, रीढ़ की हड्डी सीधा रखें, चेहरे में मुस्कान हो। अपना पूरा शरीर पर ध्यान दें। अरबों खरबों अणु परमाणुओं से बना है हमारा शरीर. Our body is made up of trillions and trillions of cells. And they're all changing all the time. The body appears to be stagnant, but it is full of changes every minute. Like a river, it's ancient, yet the water is new every minute. Nothing solid in your body, everything is fluid, everything is changing. Honor your own body. Our body is like the wick of a candle, and the mind is like the glow all around it. And your mind has no face, no shape, it's just energy. आपका मन का कोई चेहरा नहीं है, कोई रंग नहीं है. ऐसे ही सबका मन भी ऊर्जा ही है. Discard all the faces and see everyone only as energy. See everyone as just a silhouette with no face and just consciousness, just energy. Let's take a deep breath in with a smile. मुस्कुराते मुस्कुराते गहरी सांस लीजिए और मुस्कुराते मुस्कुराते सांस छोड़िए. एक विराट ऊर्जा का एक अंग है आप. You are just a part of an ocean of energy. That's called the Brahman. Let's take a deep breath in और ओमकार का उच्चारण करते हैं. Let the sound of Om reverberate in every cell of your body, in every corner of your mind. Sound Om is purifying and energizing. Let's breathe in again. ओंकार एक एक कण को शुद्ध कर देता है और पवित्र कर देते हैं। फिर एक गहरी सांस लीजिए। ओम शांति शांति शांति। धीरे धीरे शरीर और परिसर के प्रति सजग हो जाए। एक गहरी सांस लीजिए। टेक ए डीप ब्रेथ इन and as you breathe out, you may gently open your eyes.
We've got no